No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm ready to win, yeah. Diffuse, bond, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like told me, keep on running, toes they gon' take them. Used to lose, built to win, applied myself, I felt it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win, applied myself.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back for another episode. I know it ain't Tuesday, but y'all know I had to bring my boy for the last rendition of these previews we had for y'all. So we gotta go over the review. Got my boy Ace coming up in a little bit about these reviews. But before I get into that, I would like to ask that you leave a like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps the channel, it helps the network, it helps my channel CTC by the Refuse to Lose Network, coming from the Refuse to Lose Network, excuse me. We got other shows on the channel like the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave, which the finals just went off today. They got a lot to talk about on Monday. We got BWT Baseball with Teddy, Yankees fan, Yankees Red Sox this weekend. Tigers lose to the Astros after losing a series to the Nationals, which sucks, but you got to move on. But yeah, all your baseball content through BWT. You got RBO, Real Ballers Only featuring Vaughn, NBA show. Again, the finals just went off tonight. We got Dave's Doghouse, Doghouse. Let me repeat that, Dave. Dave's Doghouse. We got the highlights and the lowlights of sports. Your man put up 40. Your man go for 5 threes in garbage time. Dave's going to make him a dog. Your man score 15 in game 4, eliminate a closeout game. You might get put in the doghouse. That's Dave's Doghouse right there. We got Kings Talk with Joe Jordan. Self-explanatory. He's going to talk about the Sacramento Kings. Again, no episode until after the finals. We got FFC Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Not fantasy football going on right now, so he's just talking football. He did free agency. He did the draft. He did some contracts. He might talk about Trevor Lawrence getting paid. Trevor Lawrence just got paid. So he might talk about that. And last but certainly not least, we got in the red corner featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo. Tank, I believe, fights tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So probably going to see an episode on that soon after the fight. So all your boxing content through that channel. So please like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps the channels. It helps the network. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. So now I'm going to bring my boy Ace up here. Y'all know him if you watch the show, been on the show. He's a reoccurring guest. Ace, what's going on, my boy?
What's going on, my man? It's good to be here.
Yes, sir. You know, it was a pleasure to have you on the show as always. You know, we did the 10 group of 5 schools to look out for. We did that together, so it's only right that we review what we previewed before the season last year.
Absolutely. We got to keep it consistent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So anything you want to tell the people before we get started?
You know, it's always a pleasure to be here. And like you said, like and subscribe.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So as I bring my banners up, one team we both was high on, the UTSA Roadrunners. Hey, man, Frank Harris. We said we like Frank Harris, but he's that guy where sometimes you watch him, you like, well, what are you doing? And other times it's like, oh, my God, he's so exciting. And, hey, we had the Houston game start off with an L because of what are you doing type game. The Houston game, I remember we was in the chat like, dog, what is he doing? If I remember correctly, he threw like back-to-back picks.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed in Frank this year. I can't even lie. Like, I thought he would really be the guy and step up and be, you know, he was like that 6-year senior or whatever he was. It's like you would think that he was just going to take the reins and like just will that team to wins, but it wasn't the case.
Yeah, so Frank Harris, man, I said he was disappointed. I don't want to say I was disappointed because all in all, he still had a fairly good season. It's just he had those moments that you would think, as you said, with maturity, you would get rid of, and he didn't get rid of those moments. He did face injuries throughout the year where Owen McCown, excuse me, and I believe, Matt Berger, they did play for him, so he did face some injuries, but he led them. Well, first I'll say this: I had UTSA going 11-1, 8-0 in conference play. What did you have UTSA going?
I had them going 11-1 as well.
They actually finished 8-4, 7-1, so not bad, especially in conference play. We one loss. One record off in the conference, so not bad at all. 8-4 still not bad, bowl eligible team. And again, Frank Harris did get hurt when they lost to Army. And even though Ogle Kellogg called that crazy Hail Mary before the half, they still lost again to Army. I would say it's a surprise.
They had a bad game against Tennessee the next week. It was just like, I mean, they finished the season strong. Well, minus that loss against Tulane, but
another Frank Harris game.
Yeah,
but I mean the Tennessee game, you expect that. UTSA wasn't there yet, so you expect that. My biggest thing with UTSA
is like even with Frank Harris is like you still have to remember he's at UTSA for a reason, And however much we like these guys, we think they can do this and that. They still are at a group of 5 school for a reason,
I don't want to go that far, man. I really don't, because I love UTSA. I've grown to love the Road Runners.
I do too. But you can't throw UTSA in there with the dogs.
See, and that's the thing, right? To validate your statement a little bit, Zachary Franklin went to Ole Miss and did absolutely nothing. And Zachary Franklin was a dog at UTSA last year, one of the top group of 5 receivers, and did nothing at Ole Miss.
It's just levels of stuff, Sometimes.
Yeah, I hate it. But Trey Moore, you got Trey Moore. Trey Moore went stupid with UTSA.
Well, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule.
He's at Texas. I hope he do the same thing, but I do not need another Zachary Franklin out of Trey Moore.
Yeah, hopefully not.
All right, so one takeaway I had from UTSA before we get into the record, I thought that defense played better than we expected them to be. I thought that was a better defensive unit than they've shown in previous years. Also, I said one. I'll take that back, 2. The second thing I have for UTSA, they actually had a really good running back group this year with Kavorian Barnes coming back. I believe Rocco Griffin and Robert Henry. I thought that was a really good trio at running back for UTSA this year.
Yeah.
Any takeaways before we go into the schedule? Well, any takeaways, then I'm going to the comments, and then I'm going to the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, like you said with Barnes, anybody that's getting off 5 yards of carry, you got to love that. Especially with Frank Harris. It's like the year before last, UTSA was like, you would think of them like as a high-flying offense, putting up points on the board and everything. It just didn't have the same feel this year for whatever reason.
No.
Same thing with another team that we're going to talk about later.
It didn't. But, all right, so I'm going to get into the comments, and then we'll get into the season. So, my boy Bud, shout out my boy Bud. Firm in the building. What up, Carl? What up, Bud? Shout out to Ace. Shout out my boy Ace. So,
shout out, Bud.
Would you say Harris wasn't ready for the spotlight? No, I wouldn't say that because he had the spotlight on him last year. It's just who he is, bro. He's going to have those games where you're like, what are you doing? We said it last year. We say it this year. That's just who he is. In the last comment, he said, I disagree with that take because if you're that guy, it doesn't matter the school. They'll come to get you. It's really up to you where you want to go for real. I agree, but I don't think that's what he was saying. I think he was more so saying that Frank Harris is at UTSA for a reason, not necessarily that he's not that guy. It's just
I wasn't saying dogs can't be at UTSA. Of course they could be, but it's like at the end of the day, you get recruited where you get recruited based off, the film that you put out. And, some people can make those certain leaps when they get to those schools and, maybe even transfer up or stay there and stick it out. But it's just, Frank Harris was a 5th and 6th year senior. It's like at that point, it's like he was who he was, He
was like, what, 24, 25?
Yeah,
I think this was like his 7th year because he had like some surgery or something like that. Yeah, Frank Harris was an old quarterback, but yeah, man, it's just who he is, bro. He's going to have them games where you want to scratch your head like, bro, you're better than this. What are you doing? It's just, I love Frank Harris to death. You just got to take the good with the bad with, bro.
And maybe that's just him trying to make plays. Everybody has those moments where, they'll put it in danger. Even in the NFL, people do it, You can't really fault players for doing that because
you can't for Houston. That Houston game, you can absolutely fault them.
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes you can't fault them. Some mistakes are just stupid, but it's like, you would rather, like Mike Thomas says, you would rather, try to reel a guy in rather than to hype him up,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. So as we kept talking about the first game of the year, Houston, which I had them taking a W and they took an L. You had a W or matter of fact, we'll do it like how we did it. I'll go through the schedule first, and then you'll go through, and then just like we did the other reviews. So I had them taking a W again. They took an L. Then I had them beating Texas State, which actually was a good Sun Belt team, and they did win that game. Had them beating Army. Frank Harris did not play, and they took an L. Had them losing to Tennessee. They took the L to Tennessee. Had them beating Temple, which they did. Had them beating UAB, which they did. Had them beating FAU, which they did. Had them beating Eastern Carolina, which they did. Had them beating North Texas, which they did. Had them beating Rice, which they did. Had them beating South Florida, which they did. Which that was an exciting game, even though it was a blowout. And beating Tulane, which they did not do. Again, I had them finishing 11-1, 8-0 in conference. They finished 8-4, 7-1 in conference. I picked 9 games correct, 3 wrong. And they also won the Frisco Bowl 35-17 against Marshall, which Owen McCown quarterbacked that game. Go ahead, Ace, go through your schedule.
Yeah, so basically I had them going 11-1 as well. The only game I had them losing was that Tennessee game. In hindsight, it seems kind of silly, but that's what these reviews are for. I definitely thought that they were just going to like come out and just be led by this super senior who had all these intangibles, and it's like it would make up for the defense not being. Well, even though the defense did play a little bit better than we thought they would, but I don't know. It just seems like it didn't come together for them for whatever reason. But I mean, they got their first bowl win in program history, and that can't be understated. I think that's very important for them going forward. But a bit of a disappointing season from my perspective.
From us having them going 11-1, you would say disappointment, but overall, I don't think it's a disappointment season. Yeah, UTSA going 8-4, 7-1, especially the 7-1 in conference play. Part. And I think they were new to not Conference USA. That was their conference the year prior. They were new to the American. To go 7-1 in a new conference, you would definitely take that if you UTSA.
For sure.
So for sure, I would say in our view, how we had them, 8-4 compared to 11-1 is a disappointment. But overall, grand scheme of things, I think that was a solid season for UTSA. Nothing to hang your head about. You would take that.
Yeah, definitely nothing to hang your hat on. And anyway, we do have a couple of other teams that we were right about. So, no love lost.
Oh, no, not at all. So we move on to from UTSA to a conference champion, I believe. I believe Troy won the conference championship.
Yes,
so a conference champion and the Troy Trojans, led by Kamani Vidal, the spectacular running back who broke, I believe, Troy's career record in rushing, if I'm not mistaken. Troy, Gunnar Watson actually, if you watch it, you wouldn't think Gunnar Watson had as good as a year as he did, but he actually had a really good year for Gunnar Watson.
Homie put up stats.
Yeah. Sure. I was about to say, I look back at his stats. I'm like, I don't remember Gunnar Watson looking too crazy. I looked at 26 touchdowns, 9 picks. When you have a running back breaking records like you did, you'll take that.
Hey, yeah, anybody would take that.
Definitely take that. Chris Lewis, the big play receiver, had 10 touchdowns, while the leading receiver leading receiver yards-wise was Jabri Barber, 1 yard short of 1,000. He had 999 yards. I know he was sick.
And 75 receptions too. Like that's at least 40 more than any other receiver on the team. Like he definitely was the guy. Like you would think.
I know he was sick, bro. 999.
I'd be mad about that too.
Yeah, but Jabri Barber, good year. Like I said, Chris Lewis, big play receiver. Man, I was looking at some of Chris Lewis's longest receptions in games. They were 47, 51, 30, 35. Chris Lewis just made plays. I remember the South Alabama game, he had 4 catches for 120 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Anytime you get 23 yards per catch, that's all that screams is big playability.
Yeah, Chris Lewis is crazy. But really good year by Troy. Another good defensive year, in my opinion, by Troy. I had Troy going 10-2, 8-0. Got the 10-2 part correct. Went 7-1 in conference play. Ace, talk about Troy for a little bit.
Yeah, Troy was definitely a team that picked up where they left off with the season prior. Another top 10 defense. That's just crazy. John Summerall, Granted, he is gone now. He's at Tulane now, but he did a fantastic job with Troy. I mean, he had those kids ready to play. I ain't gonna call them kids, but had those guys ready to play week in and week out. I had them going 9-3, which I was just one game off of, but they did end up with 3 losses because they lost to the Birmingham Bowl and to Duke 17-10. They also had pretty respectable losses when you look at their schedule.
JMU.
K-State and JMU. I mean,
Chris Lewis, I think, almost wrecked that game. Chris Lewis, I think, had a big play late in the game that almost won it.
Yeah. It's it's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward. But Troy was definitely a delight to watch this whole season.
Yeah, man, I love watching Troy. It's going to be different, like you said, with Summerall being gone, but I love watching Troy the past couple years, not even just last year, the year prior. It's a reason why going into this year, we previewed Troy because
it was very smashing football to the T.
Yeah, so I'm definitely with you there. I got another comment, and then we'll get into the schedule. So Bud says, I see what you're saying, and I agree there are levels to this. So there you go there. So let's get into the schedule. So I had them winning against Stephen F. Austin. They won. Had them losing to K-State. They lost. Had them beating James Madison. They lost by a point. Had them losing to Western Kentucky, which we'll talk about them later. Oh, my God. Had them losing to Western Kentucky, which they won. Had them beating Georgia State, which they won. Had them beating Arkansas State, which they won. I had them beating Army, which they won. I had them beating Texas State, which they won. Had them beating South Alabama, they won. Had them beating UO Monroe, they won. Had them beating Louisiana, they won. Had them beating Southern Miss, which they won again to finish 10-2, 7-1. I got the first record correct, the overall record correct, got the conference record incorrect. They would then go on to win the Sun Belt 49-23 against App State, which you will be talking about later. And they did lose the Birmingham Bowl, like you said earlier, 17-10 to Duke, which I don't even think Riley Leonard played that game. Wasn't that like Grayson Loftus?
Yeah, he was already transferring.
Yeah. Which I gotta talk about that school later too.
Yeah. So basically, I had them losing that early stretch after the first game. Those next 3 games: K-State, James Madison, and Western Kentucky. Obviously they lost 2 of the 3. The Western Kentucky game actually was a pretty close game. It was only a 3-point victory for them. But other than that, the rest of the season went pretty much how I thought it would go for Troy. Even down to winning the Sun Belt, to be honest. Even with the 9-3 record, I always thought that they were the grittiest team in that conference, so they would have the upper hand if it came down to to an important game. And lo and behold, they blew out App State. So,
yep. So then App State wasn't no pushover either. App State was a really good team in the Sun Belt. They're a really good team in general, to be honest. Went to the wire again against North Carolina, but I ain't gonna talk about them too much. Again, that's for you later. But definitely a really good team. So there was nothing to sneeze at. One thing I want to say was I think I might have said it during the preview, and I'm going to say it again if I did. I really didn't understand the Asa Martin transferring in when Cavani Vidal was like clearly the guy at Troy. That one was a head scratcher.
Well, this guy chances with the transfer portal. I don't really know. But I mean, he also didn't really put up anything this year, though. Now that I think about it, like he kind of was just quiet. He didn't really get much burn at all.
I got his numbers right here: 25 carries for 114 yards and 0 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like I said, I scratched my head when it happened. Didn't understand why he would transfer to Troy. Probably felt coming from Memphis, he can maybe take that spot, which you're crazy if you thought that. I didn't get it. What I will say also,
maybe it was a culture thing.
Maybe. But what I will say is they did a great job moving on from Tez Johnson, who went to Oregon. Mm-hmm. They didn't miss a beat at receiver.
Not at all. Not at all. Which is definitely a statement, to say the least. It's not hard. It's not hard to duplicate results in college football.
You seen what Tez Johnson did at Oregon?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he went stupid. So they did a really good job.
Like his best friend or something like that.
Did a really great job there.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about Troy before we move on?
Nah, we can go on to Memphis.
All right, so we're gonna move on to Memphis. The Memphis Tigers, another American League team. They were so close to be playing for the American Championship. I believe they lost the game to SMU, which took them out of that, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was the Tulane game.
One or the other. I think it was SMU because I think that one was later in the season.
Yeah, it was the SMU game. It was the SMU game that took them out of contention because I think that put SMU in it against Tulane.
Yep.
So man, I was high on Memphis. Not as high as they finished. I had them going 8-4, 5-3. Memphis, they returned South Hannigan. I believe Blake Watson might have been a freshman this past year. They did lose Eddie Lewis, who did go to South Carolina. But for some reason, man, I was just high on Memphis. I think that might have been a culture thing because Memphis for the past few years has been really good. I remember dating back to when I was in college my senior year, predicting Memphis to upset Ole Miss, which they did do. And Luke is my witness because I told him I was at his apartment because that was my dog in college. So I remember just going that far. I believe the quarterback at that time was Paxton Lynch. So I've kind of grew a little place in my heart for Memphis ever since that year. Even going back to what Brady White a couple years ago, Kenneth Gainwell when he kind of whose spot did he take? Was it Penny Taylor? I think it was Penny Taylor's spot he took at running back. You know, the Antonio Gibsons, stuff like that. So I'm kind of rambling, but Ace, go ahead and talk about Memphis for me. Oh, yeah, my bad. One more thing. Blake Watson transferred in from ODU. That's what it was. And Demir Blankenship transferred in from Toledo. Nah, go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, because I think Blake Watson in the pros now. I think, but yeah, my love for Memphis doesn't go as deep as yours, but you know, I've always like kind of paid attention to them a little bit just because it's like, what's his name? Dontari Poe, didn't he go there?
I'm on Google right now.
Pretty sure he did because he went to the Packers or something like that. It was some dude that was like a lineman, like a nose tackle, and he was like pretty athletic, and they were hyping him up. But anyway,
Terry Poe did go to Memphis.
Yeah, so yeah, you know, I had Memphis going 8-4 as well. I didn't have like super high expectations of them, but I did know that they were a team that you could look out for, especially because I remember, you know, games the year before where it was like close games and it was just like a back and forth kind of tug thing. You know, I can't exactly remember what games we were watching, but I definitely remember them pulling out some very close ones. Like you said, Seth Hannigan coming back. I think he's the program leader in completions now. He had a pretty good season. Blake Watson, another 1,000-yard season, 14 touchdowns.
He was tough to tackle.
Yeah, for sure. Then you got Rock Taylor, 1,083 yards, 69 receptions, 4 touchdowns. But I mean, you know, that's just solid production right there out of that guy. And they improved from 6-6 the season prior. Mm-hmm. So you know, it definitely seems like, you know, there's still a program on the rise.
Yep. So I agree, man. I think Memphis definitely they took steps in the right direction, which again I would call this season a success. Like you said, man, Blake Watson transferred in. Man, he was just tough. I remember watching what was the Navy game. They couldn't tackle him. He went crazy that Navy game.
People can. Oh yeah, 169. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I remember that game. Really good, solid transfer there. Yeah, we can get into the season. So again, I had Memphis going 8-4, 5-3. I had them beating Bethune-Cookman, which they won. Had them beating Arkansas State, which they won. Had them beating Navy, they won. Had them losing to Mizzou, which looking back on that, that was just I don't know how I got that right because I was so low on Mizzou. I had them beating Boise State, which they won. Had them losing to Tulane, which they lost. Had them beating UAB, which they won. Had them losing to North Texas, which they did lose. I mean, they won, actually. Had them beating USF, which they won. Had them beating Charlotte, which they won. Had them losing to SMU, which they lost. And had them beating Temple, who got 11 games right, 1 game wrong. The 1 game wrong was North Texas. They finished 9-3, 6-2. And then they won the Liberty Bowl against Iowa State, 36-26.
Yeah, so this was another team that I had on a 3-game losing streak. Not early in the season, but like beginning of the middle, that Missouri, Boise State, Tulane stretch, I thought they were going to lose all three of those games. Obviously, they won that game against Boise State, which was before they had their turnaround, but we'll talk about that later. And also, I had them losing to SMU. Any other game, I thought that they would, handle that, which they did. I was surprised that they beat Iowa State, but now that I'm thinking about it, like Iowa State had like a crazy year. They had a drama and everything, so it's like, it's just one of those things where you hear the name and you just automatically associate, oh, they got better recruiting, But I guess not the case. But I do think that Memphis, they're definitely going in the right direction. Ryan Silverfield is doing his thing.
Yeah. So the Iowa State game, I'm not too surprised because I feel like Iowa State had an up and down year on both sides of the ball. Like defensively, one game they might be lights out. Then other games they might not do so great. And then offensively, you already know how it's going to be, man. Rago Bet is young. Abu Sama, I believe, is young. So like those guys, they're going to be up and down. I felt like Memphis had the veteran leadership there with Seth Hannigan and Blake and Rock Taylor and all that. So I felt like I don't remember who I picked in this game. So I'm not going to act like and say, oh yeah, I picked Memphis to win.
Yeah,
I'm
me
just
either.
surprised they won. That's all I'm saying.
But, I mean, I think at the end I was just thinking like, dang, Iowa State is usually one of the few teams in the Big 12 that got like a defense and stuff like that. So it's like, I think it's just conference bias, if anything.
No, I feel you. And Matt Campbell for sure is one of the great coaches in this game. And the 5-star attitude over 5-star talent thing he's instilled in his players. With guys like Breece Hall and Xavier Hutchinson.
Guys gambling and whatnot, so who knows?
Yeah, so I still can't get over that, Brad. They actually, all right, before we move on, I have to say this. They might have gambled themselves into a better situation because if Hunter Deckers was still at quarterback, I don't think Iowa State makes a bowl game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was mid, but
I'm sorry, Hunter. If you're watching, I apologize. I mean, I can't apologize because I said it and I honestly mean it. But
hey, listen, work harder, brother.
Yeah, there we go. Not like we hating.
You got it. You got it. Hey, look, you better than us. You got it.
Facts. Definitely better than us. And we wanted to succeed, but going off what you've shown us on tape,
that's all we got is the tape. It's up to you to let us know what you can do.
Facts. So, all right. So we're gonna move on to another team that probably should have been playing for a championship, but you got the transfer rules.
It's so unfortunate. You
got those transfer rules, man.
And I think they had a lot of like seniors on that team too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think off top. What Jordan McLeod, I think, was a senior. Jalen Green, I think, was a senior.
I want to say Kalen Black was too.
Yeah, I want to say that too. Yeah, man, it sucks. I hate that transfer rule so much, bro. It's like college basketball too. I can't stand it.
Yeah, they're literally going to like meet up years later and be like, man, what we should have did, what we could have did. Like,
the only reason why I don't like it though is because like, why you let me play if I can't play for nothing? Like,
right? I mean, at least they got the bowl game.
Yeah, but that was only because it wasn't enough bowl teams.
Yeah, and then it was a loss.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's how Jack State got their bowl game because it wasn't enough teams. So they went Jack State was like 8-4, something like that, and they got the bowl game against Louisiana, which. Hey, look, no spoilers. No spoilers, but Jack State might be on my preview.
Oh, for sure. I know that. I know that. And then Rich Rod.
Hey, shout out Rich Rod.
I love the Rich Rod.
He gonna bring out that option. He gonna bring out that fast-paced offense. Hey, shout out Rich Rod.
He gonna do it for sure. Hey. Oh yeah, the team we're talking about is James Madison. Sorry.
No, for real. All right, so. We're going to talk about, let's get into James Madison. We talked about already how they should have been probably playing for a Sun Belt championship, but the rules have screwed them over. As Ace has mentioned, they did get that bowl game, which they did lose to Air Force of all teams, which was kind of crazy, 31-21. But I think this was a very successful year by James Madison. Almost completed the undefeated regular season, had a slip up at the end of the year, second to last week.
This close, man.
It was what OT or
triple OT?
Yeah, I was about to say double or triple OT. Yeah, it was crazy. It was a really good game.
23, App State.
Really good game. So I had them beating Bucknell, which they won. Had them beating UVA, which they won. That was actually a pretty good game. I think that was like the Calandria coming out party where I started getting on the Anthony Calandria hype train. Yeah. I had them losing to Troy, which they won. Had them beating Utah State, which they won. I had them beating South Alabama, which they won. I had them beating Georgia Southern, which they won. Had them beating Marshall, they won. Had them beating ODU, they won. Had them beating Georgia State, they won. Had them beating UConn, they won. I actually had them losing to App State in the preview, which they lost. And I had them losing to Coastal Carolina, which they won. So I had JMU going 9-3, 5-3 in their first year in the Sun Belt. They finished 11-1, 7-1. Wait, no. This wasn't their first year. This was their second year, right?
Your second year.
Yeah, second year in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, because they don't have it next year.
Yeah. Excuse me. Apologize. In their second year in the Sun Belt, I got 10 games right, 2 wrong. Ace, talk about JMU on the schedule.
Yeah, I had them going 11-1 as well. I only had them losing to Troy, which was a 1-point victory for them. So, we can't deny the fact that I was almost right. But, like you said, JMU was just a great team, man. There's I don't know if it's just the schedule or if it, but this is the thing you can't
about. I can tell you why.
They had a winning culture anyway.
That coach. I was about to say that coach.
Yeah, Kurt Signetti. Yeah, who's now at Indiana and will
unfortunately
there. Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate.
But that's not why I'm saying unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Well, well, I don't know, man. You got to see it because with stuff like that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. 52-9 at JMU. I mean, that's insane. That is 119-35 overall. That is a guy
everywhere.
Yeah, that's a guy who just knows football. And a guy who can really reach the student athletes that he's coaching and really get the best out of them. And that's something that you have to respect, And that's why, even the last 2 years, we were always so high on them even when they moved up, but just because we knew just the tradition of how they played and where they got in the FCS and all that stuff, It's really nice to see when teams can come up and really, do their thing, man. I want to see more of it. And it's like the FBS doesn't necessarily need more teams, but I mean, the way they're doing all the realignments and all this stuff, it's like it would make things a lot more exciting.
Yeah. Hey, you can help bring back the Pac-12.
Right. But that's a tangent. Anyway, Jordan McLeod, he had a great season. Over 3,600 yards, 35 touchdowns, 8 rushing at that, 68% completion rate. Kalen Black, over 600 yards, almost 5 yards a carry. Tyson Lawton, over 500 yards, almost 5 yards a carry as well. They had weapons. And a 1,000-yard receiver in Elijah Sarrett. Over 80 receptions, 8 touchdowns. I mean, even if they postseason waiver got declined, these guys were balling out, You could tell this was like a team that, they were riding for each other,
Yeah, and the thing, I know I'm backtracking a little bit with Signetti. It's just, bro, he just wins. He just wins. No matter where he goes, no matter what level. He's done it on every level, bro.
He reminds me of Leopold in Kansas.
Yeah, exactly. He won at Buffalo. He's winning at Kansas. Bro, he just wins.
He won at Mount Union or Wisconsin Whitewater, whichever one it was.
I don't know if Lance Leipold was at Wisconsin Whitewater, but I know Signetti has won in every.
I thought he was at one of those D3 schools.
I'll Google it real quick. Go over the schedule. But yeah, he just wins. You can go over the schedule, Ace.
Yeah, so like I said, I only had them losing to Troy on the schedule, and everything else was going to be a win. That App State game, it's one of the regrets that I didn't actually see that game. I definitely wanted to, but that's really all I got for them, to be honest with you. They lost to Air Force. 10-point loss, which is kind of tough for them. I kind of hate that happened to them, to be honest.
I did too.
I really wanted them to win and everything. I wanted, just a storybook ending for those seniors because it feels like they deserve it, but you know how life goes.
Nah, I feel you. So Lance Leipold was at Whitewater. So
Okay,
he's in that category as well.
I knew it was one of them Jones.
Yeah, he's at Wisconsin Whitewater. Yeah. So also I wanted to backtrack to the Marshall game, which the defense went crazy in that game. That was a defensive battle all the way, I think, into like the third quarter. And then JMU offense exploded after JMU believe got a safety or something like that. And I also wanted to talk about Jalen Green because I felt like Jalen Green had a phenomenal senior year. And I felt like he got snubbed. I think he went undrafted, which was crazy in my opinion. I think he had like, 19 and a half sacks or something like that. Jalen Green was absolutely stupid at JMU. Maybe it was 15 and a half sacks. I'm gonna Google it to make sure. But I know he had a stupid year at JMU, and I believe he went undrafted. And I feel like anybody who picks him up is going to pick up a diamond in the rough. He had 15 and a half sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a pick.
And he's from Baltimore, I see. Yeah, 15 and a half sacks for sure.
Man,
wow.
Bro, ball at JMU. I don't even know if it's on the team.
I don't know if it was, it might have been a pick six. It was a pick six. He got
like, bro, ball. And he's not even, I don't even think he's on an NFL team right now. That's crazy to me. But
so, wow.
I don't know if it's the knee injury. I don't know what it is, but I just wanted to give Jalen Green his flowers for a great year before we moved on. Also, before we move on, I'm gonna go to the comments real quick. Bud said, shout out Matt Campbell, former Toledo head coach. # return of the Mac. He went to University of Toledo, and then he just said # go Rockets. Shout out Toledo because they will be making an appearance in this video. We move on to. Oh, I had Memphis up the whole time. Oh, well. We move on to more disappointing pastures, Western Kentucky. Now, I have been a fan of Austin Reed. I've also was a fan of Malachi Corley, even though bro is a running back at receiver. But Malachi Corley still makes plays downfield. Don't get me wrong, but Western Kentucky definitely used him for a lot of wide receiver screens.
He's definitely a yak guy.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing with Western Kentucky, they were trying to find a running back. I think they tried really hard all year to find a consistent back. I don't think they really succeeded in doing that. They worked around 3 backs all year. I'm blanking on their names, but I know
Elijah Young was one.
Yeah, Elijah Young was definitely one. Erwin Poindexter was another one, and I'm blanking on the third. But I felt like they didn't get a lot of consistency at the running back position. Austin Reed, I don't think he had an Austin Reed year in my opinion. I think he had a pretty good one, but it wasn't like what I was looking forward to. In the game that kind of made me think that, was it the Troy game? I'm not mistaken, where he didn't look as great. I don't think he looked good in the Troy game. I'm trying to remember which one. I mean, obviously, I didn't expect it was a game early in the year, and I don't expect him to look good against Ohio State. It might even have been the Jack State game where he didn't look great either.
I can't really remember. I mean, the Troy game he did put up 275 yards, but I can't remember exactly like if he fumbled with,
Funny enough, Austin Reed is is in Chicago.
Yeah, honestly, I just looked that up too.
That's funny.
I mean, but at the end of the day, he wasn't doing what we thought of when we think of Western Kentucky quarterbacks this past year.
Facts. Slinging the rock around, crazy numbers.
Oh, the Sam Houston State game. The guy threw 4 picks.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Like, it's stuff like that. I think, which honestly was his only blunder during the season. Every other.
That Jack State game, 24 for 48, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. I knew I wasn't tripping.
Oh, yeah, 24 for 48.
250 yards, only a 50% completion percentage with 48 passes. I knew I wasn't tripping.
And those are 2 teams, to be honest with you, that if you are worth any kind of thing in college football this past season, that you shouldn't have been struggling with.
So, hey, you got chill on Jack State, bro.
Listen, I know you love Jack State. But all I'm saying is, they ain't win a game till like week 7, 8 or something like that.
No, Jack State? No, not Jack State. Jack State won their first game.
Okay.
That was you think of Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State couldn't get a W to save their life.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Sam Houston because they was the ones who was just like, all
Right.
right.
I remember we was rooting for them in the chat like every week, like this gonna be the game. Oh my god, they gonna get it, and then they would blow it.
Yeah, you're right. I had it mixed up. But yeah, the Troy loss was, close game, but that's tough. I mean, but that defense,
Good opponent.
Liberty was going to do that to them. I mean, Liberty was really good last year.
That's the
We
team
really
we
should have
missed.
had Liberty in this. We really should have had Liberty in this. We missed them for sure. Yeah, it's just and they caught Sam Houston State later on in the season too, when it was like when they kind of got it together at least a little bit more. I don't know, man. I just was kind of disappointed in this team. I had them going 10-2, and obviously they went what?
They went 7-5, 5-3. I had them going 11-1, 8-0. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Real bad.
Yeah, I don't even know if I would say if this is a successful season for Western Kentucky. Part of me want to say yeah, but part of me wants to say no because
I don't think so. I think it's like a stall year. It's like
exactly.
Kind of buttered. I mean, the defense was horrible, man. It was pretty weak. I mean, whenever you're 90th scoring defense and 120th in rushing defense, it's like, dude, you got
Western Kentucky defense was awful. I want to say that was the reason why. Didn't they? No, they. Okay. I'm tripping. But yeah, they almost blew the game to Louisiana Tech. Remember, they went up crazy. I think they went up 35-0, and Louisiana Tech almost had a chance to tie a late game.
Oh my God, you're right. You're right. They were up 35-7, and they came back. Well, almost came back.
Yeah, I remember that game. I think they got a not a goal line stand, but like close to a goal line stand. But Louisiana Tech definitely almost tied.
Yeah, but that's another game. Corley did his thing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's going to do his thing regardless. You get that boy the ball in open space, he going to make some people miss. And I'm not just talking about juking. He might run you over.
Yeah, he might run you over. I mean, Corley's not a small guy either, though.
No.
He can go up over top of you, and he is a pretty complete receiver. Did he transfer or anything?
Corley's in the NFL.
Okay.
He's on the Jets.
That's not bad.
And you know what's funny? I'm going to say this, and then we go to the schedule. But one of the Jets, I guess, posted a highlight Malachi Corley, and he legit ran a wide receiver screen. He ran a wide receiver screen, bro.
Hey, if you got it, you got it. You gotta know what
they watched the film on Corley for sure.
Oh yeah, he went third round. I mean, he deserved it, man. He's got some intangibles, if anything.
Oh no, facts. He was one of my sleepers.
Yeah,
but let's get into this Western Kentucky schedule. Disappointing season for both of us. Again, I had them finishing 11-1, 8-0. Y'all can kill me in the comments. I do not care. Hey man, I ain't never said I was perfect, so hey, I'll take it. Had them beating USF, which they did do, which is funny. Okay, I'm small tangent. USF, I'm high on them next year, bro. They are losing in every prediction I have, so this is crazy. Houston, they did. I had them beating Houston Christian, which they did do. Had them losing to Ohio State, which they did do. Had them beating Troy, which they lost. Had them beating Middle Tennessee State, which they won. Had them beating Louisiana Tech, which they won. Had them beating Jacksonville State, which they lost. Had them beating Liberty, which they lost. Had them beating UTEP. They won, another team that struggled. Had them beating New Mexico State, which they lost. And I had them beating Sam Houston State, which they won. And finally, I had them beating FIU, which they won again, finishing 7-5, 5-3. I actually got 8 games right, 4 games wrong. And Western Kentucky did actually win their bowl game. But that bowl game was crazy. You remember that bowl game against ODU?
Oh, yeah, Old Dominion, yeah.
They were down 35-0 or something like that. And the backup to the backup, because Austin Reed did not play this game. I think his name was Volenkamp. I remember watching this game, and I think they got a touchdown right before half. And I said, he moved the ball better than the original backup. This might get scary. Now I'm thinking, it might be scary, but ODU's clearly going to win it. Bruh, they won that game. ODU did everything in their power to blow that game. I can't remember the receiver that was.
ODU is another one of those, FCS transfers that's bumped up, and
Yeah, but I can't remember the receiver. One receiver, I think number 17. He kind of went stupid with the touchdowns. I'm gonna Google it. I can't remember his name. I remember his number. Kind of went crazy that game.
I'm about to look that up.
I'm about to Google it right as we talk about the schedule right now.
Yeah. So for me, I had WKU going 10-2. It was, I don't know, man. I really had high hopes for them. I think it was kind of a little bit of a bias just from past seasons and with Bailey Zappi and all that stuff. I just thought that I just thought that they would recruit the right quarterback all the time. And maybe I just had too much faith in that. Obviously, I had them losing to Ohio State as well. And I believe I also had them losing to Troy, another team that I had on at least a 2-game skid. They were pretty disappointing this season as far as just what we expect of them. I mean, they did still put up points, which, it's just par for the course, really. They really have to work on their defense and, getting that shored up. I don't really know if it's the scheme. I don't know if it's the coordinator, or I don't know if it's the recruiting, but something has to change for them to take another step. Because if they don't, they're just going to perpetually be in the middle of, I can't remember what conference they are in right at this moment.
I want to say they Conference USA. Yeah, they Conference USA.
Yeah. They're just going to always be in the middle of the pack conference there. And it's like...
That's what it was. It was Dalvin Smith. He had 9 catches for 77 yards and 3 touchdowns.
What game was that again?
The bowl game, ODU.
Yeah, I see.
He went stupid, bro.
Yeah, I remember it going to overtime, but I wish I did see. I don't think I actually watched the game though.
Oh, I did, and I was pissed because I bet ODU money line, and I was happy as hell after the first half.
Well, that sounds about right.
I remember this one.
Oh man, it's getting closer to that time too. It's so beautiful.
I can't wait. I can't wait. The chat gonna be lit, college football.
I know this is a tangent, but that stretch in December when it's the playoff and then it's all these NFL games and then the bowl games.
I can't wait.
Oh, dog. My girl's gonna hate me.
But yeah, man, I agree. I do agree that this is what I agree with. I do think they need to fix something on the defensive end, whether it's coaching or something along those lines, because defensively they cannot keep up with their offensive prowess. But I don't think that they're too mad at what they do in their college football years, because I think they're fine with going 7-5, winning a bowl game, 8-4, playing in bowl games. Now, I do think that so this is the thing, right? If I remember correctly, they did challenge UTSA for a Conference USA championship a couple years back. They just lost because Frank Harris and the boys just won the game. There was
I think that was
tough battle.
Actually,
you said what?
I think that was the year before last or something like
that.
Yeah,
I'm about to say I really do think. Yeah, exactly. I think that was the year before last. UTSA just won a tough game. So I think they're fine with where they're at. Of course, they want a Conference USA championship.
Actually, wasn't it a championship game? I remember that being like a very, very close game because I remember.
I'm gonna Google it to make sure, but that's what I was getting at. I'm thinking like, bro, I think they had I think both games were actually really good. Yeah, I think they played twice that year.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I remember now.
UTSA won the first game in October, 31-28. How do I get to this season? I just want to get to this season. And then this is 2021, excuse me. Yeah, even then, 2021, the December 3rd, UTSA won 49-41.
Yeah.
So I'm about to say that was with Bailey Zappi. And funny enough, Western Kentucky finished 8-5, 7-1, while UTSA finished 12-1, 7-1. It's going to be crazy. I really do wonder how UTSA is going to do next year, side note. But
let's go to UTSA. Quarterback, it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I'm on UTSA schedule right now. I'm gonna go to their 2022 schedule, and it should pop up as with their Conference USA championship. Their conference USA. Oh no, well, 2022, excuse me, was North Texas. They played North Texas in the Conference USA Championship, and they won 48-27. Maybe it was 2021. So I think UTSA went back to back in Conference USA. No.
I don't
Yes.
know.
Yes. That 49-41 game I talked to you about with Bailey Zappi at quarterback, that was the Conference USA Championship.
Yeah, because last year Bailey Zappi was in the NFL. So
Yeah. So that was 2021. Funny enough, the same year, 2021, they played earlier in the year, October 9th, and they did beat Western Kentucky
no, you're right.
52-46.
That was the first year that we could gamble from the phones and all that.
Yep. So they beat Western Kentucky twice that year. First time 52-46, and then the second time 49-41 to win Conference USA. So like Western Kentucky, they played for their Conference USA championship. They lost, obviously, but I think they're fine where they at. I think at least that's how I feel they feel.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're a mid-major team and you're going 7-5 and consistently going to bowl games, I mean, you really can't be mad at that. The faculty can be mad at that because you're bringing in money, regardless of what level of bowl game that you're in. As long as you're going, that's always going to benefit the school. And especially the students. I mean, the student athletes. They're going to always be there, and they're always going to be like, nobody wants to play for a bad team. So if you can consistently go to bowls, of course there's going to be some games you lose because you're not the cream of the crop. But if you can make it competitive, you can have fun. Everybody's going to go.
Yeah, and also Conference USA, they can win Conference USA. I get Liberty just ran through Conference USA, and I mean that was a really good team. And Kate Salter is running it back, but like it can be had, bro. I mean, New Mexico State, are they going to be that good again? We don't know. Middle Tennessee State, normally a mid-tier Conference USA team. Sam Houston State, yeah, they were bad. Jack State, Sam Houston State can't even play for the title because of the transfer rules.
Right.
Who else am I missing? Louisiana Tech, they're normally not going to play for Conference USA Championship. So they can get there and they can possibly win Conference USA. Just got it. I think, like you and I said, bro, something got to change defensively. But anything else? You said what?
It's the beauty of mid majors.
Yeah. Anything else before we move on to our last same pick?
No, I think we can move on. This is
all right
pick anyway.
All right. So our last team that we both had an agreement with was Tulane. Tulane was coming off of an American Athletic Conference championship, coming off a Cotton Bowl win against USC with Caleb Williams. Willie Fritz, another guy who just wins, Willie Fritz is now where? Is he now in Houston? I think he's now at Houston.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Willie Fritz is at Houston now. Michael Pratt was coming back too. Yeah, they lost Tajay Spears to Tennessee, to the Titans. But Michael Pratt was making his returns last year at Tulane, which that was something big. That was huge news. They lost a lot. They lost Deuce Watts, wide receiver. But Jaquan Jackson, who's the leading receiver, he came back. And they were poised for another American Athletic Conference championship, which they did make it to. They just lost. Tulane was a really good team. Mekhi Hughes, great running back. Yeah. I think he was a freshman. I want to say Mekhi Hughes was a freshman. Again, Jaquan Jackson was a really good receiver. I thought, was his name Chris Brazell? I think he was actually a better receiver than what people might think he is. I liked what I saw from him. Overall, Tulane was a really good team. I don't know what happened in that American Athletic Championship. I really don't. I think that kind of carried over to the bowl game as well. But go ahead, Ace, talk about Tulane before we get into it.
Yeah, I think Tulane was a very interesting team to keep track of this past season, especially off of the season that they had prior. Definitely looking at Michael Pratt, he's a very capable quarterback. So everybody, well, not everybody, but, we were definitely looking at them and, thinking that he could lead them at least to the championship, which he did. The Ole Miss game, I do remember that.
Very good one.
First of all, let's talk about the prediction. I had them going 9-3.
You and me both.
which what they went 10-2,
11-1.
11-1. Oh yeah, 11-1. Yeah, the conference game, well, the conference championship game. Yeah, that Ole Miss game, I distinctly remember it because they were very much in it until like midway in the fourth quarter, and it kind of crumbled. And also, Michael Pratt was out that game as well. I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's like Isaiah Horton or something like that. He played with a lot of moxie, man. You gotta love how he played. You know, the backup quarterback coming in the big game, probably the biggest game that they had up to that point. You know, and he balled out. You know, he made some mistakes, but I think he's a young guy too.
Yeah,
So,
I think it was a strip sack fumble for 6 at the end of the game that kind of cost him that.
yeah, something like that, or it was a pick, one or the other. But they Ole Miss ended up scoring like 20 straight points. We kind of put it, but yeah, and honestly, it's kind of you kind of got to look at the coach because it was like bad management the week before. Because it's like Michael Pratt shouldn't have been in that game at the end of it because they had it handled. It was like a 20-point game at that point. But you know, it was week 1, so I guess you do want to get your quarterback as much reps as you can before the week of a big game. But you know, neither here nor there. That's not my decisions to make. Like you said, Chris Brazil, he definitely showed a lot this season, over 700 yards. Mekhi Hughes, the freshman, over 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns, like 5 yards per carry. That's pretty great.
Baller.
I think the secondary had issues at times, which is why I believe they lost to SMU. But yeah, I was actually pretty impressed with Tulane this year. I think that they built off the momentum that they made the year prior, and they showed people that, you know, it wasn't a fluke, which I know was very important to them because, I mean, when was the last time SMU really had a decent year before the year prior? It was probably like 99 or something, you know?
Probably the Pony Access.
Yeah, it was like
I think that's the last time they won. That might have been the last time they won the conference championship.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know I know they were good under Tanner Mordecai. They were good under him. But like in terms of winning the conference championship, that you might gotta go back to the 80s for that.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Somewhere around there for sure. And you know, it was unfortunate how they lost their bowl game, military bowl against Virginia Tech, 41-20. But you know, bowl games these days is kind of hard to even judge teams off of those because, you know, there's so many factors that go into it. It's like if you lose it, so be it. If it wasn't like a big bowl game, it's like you can't really hold it against them.
Yeah, i.e. Florida State. So yeah,
we're not gonna hold that in.
Yeah, I like the sentiment there about Tulane, and I mean, as much as I hate to say that an 11-1 season, 8-0 season was a failure, I have to say it was a failure because they brought this team back to get another conference championship, and they did not get it done. They didn't. That's the only reason why I would say, because 11-1 is crazy. 11-1 is a great year. Undefeated in conference play is a phenomenal year. But you didn't come back just to get 11 wins and go undefeated. You came back for that conference title. You came back to try to make the playoffs. You wanted to be the best back.
I mean, to be honest, I want to argue with you, but you're kind of right.
Yeah, bro. That's what I'm saying. I hate to say an 11-1, 8-0 season is a failure, but when you look at the reason why people came back,
I don't think failure is the right word. But they just didn't get the job done.
I mean, I just feel like you just said it.
Failure.
You just said it nicer.
They probably deserve it. They probably deserve for it to be said a little nicer.
I mean, I'm with you because they went 11-1, 8-0. I'm with you, but like, I can't lie.
And then if you look at their games, it's like they have too many close games. I mean, they had now I'm looking like
they had, and Memphis was close at first. Then they pulled away.
I mean, then North Texas was a 1-point game, right?
That's insane.
East Carolina, but those were also away. Also Tulsa. I mean, well, you know.
That North Texas game was insane because as much as I was high on North Texas last year, they disappointed me this year. They got blown out by Cal. North Texas didn't look as good. I mean, they also had a 29-year-old at quarterback the year prior. So I mean,
that does make a difference. You got a 30-year-old throwing the ball.
But all right, let's get into this schedule. So Tulane started off with South Alabama, which I did have as a win, which they did win. I had them losing to Ole Miss, which they did lose. I had them beating Southern Mississippi, which they won. I had them beating Nichols, which they won. I had them beating UAB, which they won. I had them losing to Memphis, which they actually won. I had them beating North Texas. Had them beating Rice. Had them beating East Carolina. Had them beating Tulsa. Had them beating Florida Atlantic, and I had them losing to UTSA. Overall, they went 11-1, 8-0. I got 10 games right, 2 games wrong. Again, they did lose the American Athletic Conference Championship to SMU. And like I said, they lost the Military Bowl to Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I definitely had them losing to Ole Miss. I think I actually had them losing to South Alabama, too. I think I had something with South Alabama where I thought that, they were like a very...
They were a good team.
They're a good team, and like I thought that their run scheme confused a lot of teams, especially ones with like weaker defenses. And I know that Tulane did have like secondary issues during the season, but I wouldn't necessarily call them a weak defense. But we did take Lance Guidry from them, so that caused for a little bit of a concern. I also had them losing to UTSA, and I want to say I had them losing to Memphis. But other than that, I think those were the three losses that I had for them. Obviously, only one of those panned out. But, nothing to hang their hat on. But obviously, they didn't get the ultimate goal.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I had them. The Ole Miss game was the one that, and it was a good game. So it's not like it was like, oh yeah, obviously Ole Miss just ran through. No, it's a really good game. I remember watching that game, especially with like you said, Michael Pratt not playing. Really good game. Willie Fritz, I believe he had a really good year at Tulane. He is at Houston. I did look it up. He is at Houston. Okay. Really good year. Which is funny. He's now at the other. Well, no, Houston's now Big 12. My apologies. I want to say Houston and Tulane played for the championship when Tulane won it, right? Maybe
the year before. Yeah. It might have been. I could check real quick. Let me see.
I want to say that's who they played. Because they played Clayton. I want to say no, it's not who they played. Actually, I think Clayton Tune had a disappointing year.
It was UCF who they played.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Clayton Tune actually had a disappointing year the year Tulane won it all. So my apologies. But I wanted to talk to you about South Alabama real quickly. Colin Lacey, excuse me. I'm going to call him Willie Cauley. Colin Lacey for South Alabama was incredible. 1,300 plus yards. Now transferred to Louisville. That was a great guy, receiver. So South Alabama was a really good team. It's a pretty good team. If I remember correctly, I ain't really like the quarterback too crazy, but Colin Lacey was tough. So.
Well, yeah, it was definitely like a run first team and like just kind of a lot of scheme and misdirection kind of stuff. But so I can definitely see why you may not like the quarterback that much.
Yeah, but anything else before we move on to my first pick that we didn't have the same?
No, sir. You can have at it.
All right, so now I got to talk about a team that I don't like, but I did tell y'all to watch out for it, so I have to talk about them, and that is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame came into the year with playoff aspirations. Sam Hartman, almost called him Sam Howell. Sam Hartman transferred in from Wake Forest. I had them going 10-2. Can't say a conference record again. Just joined the ACC already, bro. I had them going 10-2. Independent school. Benjamin Morrison came back, who was on my watch list for the Jim Thorpe. You had Audric Estime come back at running back. Now, receiver, you had some guys. They said that they had a really good receiving core. I wasn't too keen on the receiving core like that. Not to say it was bad, just wasn't a part of my strengths of Notre Dame going into the season. One of my strengths were that J.D. Bertrand, the linebacker, and I'm blanking on the other linebacker name. Not the guy that y'all drafted, but the other line, Jack Kaiser. Jack Kaiser came back at linebacker. I was big on both of those guys coming back. And then Logan Diggs transferred out, but again, you had Audric Estime, so it was like that's his backfield now. So I was the strengths was to me the quarterback, running back, and linebackers. Oh, and the lockdown corner, he was only a sophomore last year, so he's got to come back. But yeah, so with that being said, I had him going 10-2. That was one game off. They finished 9-3. They absolutely destroyed Navy in Dublin, Ireland. I had them beating Tennessee State. I had them beating NC State, which, if I remember correctly, that's the game that got Brendan Armstrong benched, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. I had them beating Central Michigan. I had them beating Ohio State, and bruh, literally seconds away from having that happen and one player short. I believe they had 10 players on the field the last play of the game. I feel like Notre Dame just mismanaged that game, though. I feel like they should have won that one.
They could have won that one, and that would have made their season a lot different, I think.
Yeah. I had them beating Ohio State. Definitely. They lost that one. I had them beating Duke, which they won. I had them beating Louisville, which Sam Hartman played absolutely horrid in that game. And then Notre Dame's run defense did not help with Jawar Jordan breaking multiple big runs. They actually lost to Louisville. Had them losing to USC, which they made Caleb Williams look bad. They won that game. I think Xavier Watts had like 2 picks. I had them beating Pitt, which they won. I had them losing to Clemson. They lost. I had them beating Wake Forest, and I had them beating Stanford. Like I said, they finished 9-3. They end up winning the Sun Bowl against Oregon State 40-8. But, I mean, Jonathan Smith was already gone to the MSU. And I believe Damian Martinez didn't play. I believe DJ Ungalale did not play. I think a lot of Oregon State sat out. So, cheap bowl win, but nonetheless a bowl win. In my opinion, Notre Dame season was a failure because they had playoff aspirations and did not make the playoffs. They didn't even get a New Year's Six bowl. So, and this is not me saying because I don't like Notre Dame. They legit had playoff aspirations and they went 9-3. And
absolutely, when they got Sam Hartman, they thought like, "Oh, this was the last piece that we needed."
Yeah, they definitely thought that, and they should not have. They shouldn't. That Louisville game, I get Louisville was ranked. I get Louisville ended up being a really good team. They should not have lost that Louisville game.
No.
So that's it for me on Notre Dame. We're going to move to Ace talking about SMU.
Yeah, so SMU was a team that I have an affinity for because I still love Brett Lashley, our former OC at Miami. So I had them going 8-4. They actually went, I want to say 9-2.
They was either 10-2 or 9-3.
I think. Hold on.
I think they went. I want to say they went 9-3.
They went 10-2. They went 10-2. So starting off with talking about them who went undefeated in conference play, beat Tulane in the conference championship. Went to the Fenway Bowl and lost to Boston College 23-14. I really think they lost that game because Preston Stone, who broke his leg in the season finale, against who was that? Navy. I think that's really why they lost the bowl game. But beyond that, I really enjoy SMU. I think they're a very explosive team offensively. Like you really can't find much better offensively in college football. Those guys, they just break big plays and they have the pace and they go at it, And the defense actually improved very much from the season prior. It went from 35 points per game to 19. I mean, that's a hell of a rise in defensive efficiency, if you ask me. Again, Preston Stone was a dog, over 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 picks. Jalen Knighton, the former Hurricane, went over 700 yards, 5.5 yards per carry. He's just always been an explosive back, has crazy speed. They have, 3 different wide receivers over 400 yards per game. They almost played in the New Year's Six Bowl, actually. They were like 1 rank behind Liberty. If Liberty may have slipped up, that could have been them playing in the Fiesta Bowl.
Same result.
But,
Same result.
Well, yeah, for sure, same result. But they could have been there. But so let's get in the schedule. So Louisiana Tech, I definitely had them winning that game. Oklahoma, of course, I had them losing that. Prairie View A&M, slouch of a team, I had them winning that. TCU, I did have them losing that, But I also didn't think TCU would be how they were this year, so it was kind of a surprise. They did lose, 34-17, but it was what was expected. I had them beating Charlotte the very next week. Also beating East Carolina and Temple the next 2 weeks. Tulsa, I had that as a win for them as well as Rice in North Texas. Now, Memphis, I had them losing just because I thought that would be a tough game for them. Just a crazy environment for them going into Memphis and trying to win that. And also, I had them beating Navy too. So, oh, wait. My prediction was off. But either way, I had SMU, I had SMU having a pretty decent season, basically off the trim because actually I still think he's a great coach. And, they lost their bowl game again, but I don't think that was because they were at full strength.
I mean, they couldn't stop the run either. If I remember correctly, Thomas Castellanos ran all over him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much of their defense was out. I mean, at the end of the day, he definitely could have just been that good of an athlete that, just had the defibrillator. But I'm still very high on him,
Yeah, no, I think it was a great year for them. I mean, SMU. I think it was a successful year, nonetheless. To win the American Conference for the first time in who knows how long, successful year. Yeah, they lost the bowl game, but hey.
Yeah. I left that out of my accident.
You said what?
Yeah, I left that out of my accident. They were the American Conference champions.
Yeah, so hallelujah by them. So we're going to move on to me and a bad pick with Coastal Carolina. I ain't going to lie, man. I've had an affinity in my heart for Coastal. One of my guys, he played there. And when he started playing there, and that's when I started paying attention, and it looked great the last 2 years, but last year just didn't look the same. It didn't. And now the head coach is gone. I believe he's now gone. Grayson McCall is now gone.
Yeah,
no, the head coach was gone last year. I forgot where he went.
Last year, but I say that's really what the difference was.
Yeah, he left last year. I can't remember where he went though, but they definitely had a new coach last year, and it just didn't look the same. Grayson McCall, he came back to a lot of our surprises. I definitely thought he was going to go somewhere different last year. I thought he was going to go maybe Florida, which they could have used him. I thought maybe somewhere else. I think now he transferred to Wisconsin. No, now he's at NC State. State. But yeah, offensively, they just didn't put up the points like previous years. They've never been super great defensively. They've been good defensively, but last year, not so much. It was just, I think, a bad year for Coastal Carolina. I had them going 10-2, 7-1. I think Grayson also got hurt this year too, if I'm not mistaken. But they ended up going 7-5, 5-3. Had them losing to UCLA. They lost. Had them beating Jack State, which they won. Had them beating Duquesne, which they won. I had them beating Georgia State, which they lost. I want to say Marcus Carroll and Darren Granger went stupid that game. I had them beating Georgia Southern, which they lost. I had them losing to App State, which surprisingly they won. There was a crazy play in that game. I had them beating Arkansas State, which they won. I had them beating Marshall, which they won. Had them beating ODU, which they won. Had them beating Texas State, which they won. Had them beating Army, which they lost. And I had them beating JMU, which they lost. Again, they finished 7-5, 5-3 conference play. I got 7 games right, 5 games wrong. They did, however, win the Hawaii Bowl 24-14 against San Jose State. But San Jose State head coach, I believe, was Brett Brennan or some. Is it Brett Brennan? He's now gone anyway. Long story short, he's gone. I forgot what school he's at now. I want to say he's at Arizona. Yeah, exactly. I think he's at Arizona. I don't think he coached in that bowl game. But disappointing year for Coastal Carolina, in my opinion. And we're going to move on to Ace talking about Boise State, who got one of my favorite running backs in the country.
Yeah, before I get into that, he's walking into a pretty nice situation.
Yeah, with Toya McMillan and Fighter. Absolutely.
Yeah, that dude was going to go crazy, especially what he did with Grayson McCall. Like, the way he was just like a playmaker and so dynamic. I mean, he could probably make something happen there for sure. So, yeah, let's get into Boise State, the Mountain West champions. I had them going 9-3. They actually went 7-5 in the season. They had a very up and down season. It was kind of crazy. And I know if you're a Boise State fan, you definitely feel that way because it's probably something that you guys weren't used to. But they did pull it in. They reeled it in rather later on in the season. Andy Avalos, he got fired mid-season after that collapse to Colorado State. That Hail Mary, I believe it was, that iced the game for them. He took people out, had bad clock management. I think him getting fired the week. I don't know if it was the week after that or if it was after that game, but the interim coach Spencer Danielson definitely turned the attitude around for those kids. Taylor Green, he was the starter, and then I remember he got taken out, and then he finished the season.
He got hurt. He got hurt in the UCF game. Then I want to say he got put back in as a starter. It was like a flip-flopping thing at quarterback they had.
Yeah, I thought they benched him and then they put him back in.
He got hurt for sure in UCF. After that, I really can't remember. But UCF, he for sure got hurt.
Well, he still played after that UCF game because that was the second game of the season. That was after Washington whooped them, like absolutely put, belt to butt. Ashton Genty, your boy, All American. Like,
oh boy,
he definitely carried this team for sure. Like he put up 200 yards. I mean, at least 2-3 times this season.
Bruh,
the guy's
crazy.
6 yards per carry. I mean, the guy definitely has some talent, man.
And that's not even mentioning his receiving.
Yeah, that's true too. And also, Boise State, all their other losses besides Washington were one score games. So it's not really like they were so off of the path that they've been used to. It's just, sometimes the ball swings the other way.
Yeah. Man, hey, look, man, my greatest takeaway is already, like you said, Ashton Genty.
Yeah. Oh, and also they lost their bowl game to UCLA 35-22. But ironically, going into next year, they have UCLA's quarterback. So we'll see.
Which one they grabbed? They grabbed
no, not UCLA quarterback, but they got dude from USC, I think.
Not Miller Moss.
No, was the dude from UCLA?
You talking about Ethan Garbers?
No.
Colin Shalee?
No, it's got to be. It was a freshman. It was
Dante Moore.
Yeah. Yeah, Dante Moore. That's what they got.
He didn't play on that bowl game.
No, he didn't play in that bowl game, but he ended up transferring there, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, Dante Moore. Which, man, hey, bro, I don't know how much Dante Moore you watched, but I was not impressed.
I mean, I don't really have much of an opinion on him necessarily. I just know he went there now.
Yeah, he was a 5-star freshman. He was like a highly coveted recruit. He did.
Yeah, I know. I think he was a 5-star.
Matter of fact, I want to say he started 2 games off with a pick 6. I want to say it was Utah and Washington State. He started both those games off with pick 6s.
Well, maybe he should be.
Bro. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just watching.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about that in the preview.
Hey, maybe Boise State makes the list. Who knows?
Yeah. If I doubt we'll talk about the Mountain West. But,
All right, so that's it. That's all you got on Boise State?
Yes, sir. That's all we got. Oh yeah, I forgot about the schedule. I'm sorry. 1 second. Let me pull that back up. So yeah. Oh, actually, I did go over it. I talked about the loss.
Yeah.
Did I talk about their losses? Yeah.
I mean,
they lost them. They lost to Colorado State, which was a bad one. Fresno State. I didn't really see that coming, but again, they had an up and down season. They had no chance against Washington though, and UCF. I mean, if the quarterback got hurt, I can see them losing. And Genty didn't really catch his stride until like really later on in the season, anyway. So
that UCF game, he went stupid.
Yeah, he had over 100 for sure.
Yeah, I remember that's how I found out about bro watching that UCF game.
Yeah. Because he had that was one of his better receiving games too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm about to Google it. I want to say Ashton Genty might have had close to 200.
He had 115 rushing, 97 receiving.
200 all purpose. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, they always got somebody every few years.
Hey, bro, who was it? Shane Rhodes Williams 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
It was somebody else. I can't remember. Jay Ajayi 1 year. They always do got a sneaky guy though. But oh shoot, what's his name that's on the Bills? Is it Khalif Raymond?
Not sure.
I think it's Khalif Raymond. He played at Boise State. Let me make sure, even though you know how I feel about the quarterback in Buffalo. Not Khalif Raymond. That's on the Lions. What is bruh name? He played at Boise State. He was he's the slot receiver on the Bills now. Khalif Raymond, I think. Hold on. Let me look at this Buffalo Bills roster.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Khalil Shakur. Khalif Raymond is the punt returner for the Lions. It's Khalil Shakur.
Okay.
Yeah, he played at Boise State. But we're gonna move to my pick. Next is Toledo. Toledo, believe they won the MAC championship. Yeah, they came into this year MAC champions, defending champs. Coming off an 8-5 year. Daquan Finn returned, who's now going to Baylor. But Daquan Finn returned. Excuse me, Jawan Newton returned. Jaquez Stewart returned. Quinyon Mitchell returned, who's now in the NFL, who was also on my Jim Thorpe watch list. Demir Blankenship transferred to Memphis, but they also had Penny Boone. Penny Boone was in the mix, and now he's out of there. He's now at Louisville. But Penny Boone had a great year at running back. Overall, this is how I feel. I feel like Toledo still had a pretty good year defensively. They were explosive. Penny Boone was explosive. Daquan Finn, I feel like he still had a good year. He almost came and got that Illinois W. It was close. Illinois, I think, won a field goal at the end of the game. But yeah, we're gonna get into the schedule real quick. Had them losing to Illinois, they lost. Had them beating Texas Southern, they won. I had them beating San Jose State, they won. I had them beating Western Michigan, they won. I had them beating Northern Illinois, they won. Had them beating UMass, they won. I had them beating Ball State, they won. Had them losing to Miami of Ohio, which they won. I had them losing to Buffalo, which I don't know how, which they won. Had them beating Eastern Michigan, they won. I had them beating Bowling Green, which they won. And I had them beating Central Michigan, which they won. Had them going 9-3, 6-2. They actually finished 11-1, 8-0 in conference play. Then they lost, which I don't know how. They lost the MAC championship to Miami of Ohio. Then they lost the Arizona Bowl, 16-15 to Wyoming. Wyoming came back and won. That was a really good defensive battle. Shout out Andrew Peasley. He got the W for Wyoming, and Wyoming's head coach last year. He retired after that, so he retired on top of the bowl game. So shout out to him. Ace, I'm gonna go to your last pick to App State, and we're going to try to run through it real quick because it is 1:10 in the morning.
Yeah, we're gonna run through this App State real quick. So I had them going 7-5. They actually went what was that, 8-4, I want to say. App State, they weren't super impressive this season. I think that they had, a solid year for, who we know them to be. They won a bowl game, which you can't really sneeze at. They beat Miami of Ohio in the Mexican Cure Bowl game, 13-9. They had a very exciting game against North Carolina earlier in the year, that double overtime game. Didn't they have College Game Day come there this year, or was that the year?
I want to say they did.
I feel like
they did too.
I can't remember what game it was, but I feel like they had College Game Day there, and I think people. I think they did.
Was it JMU?
It might have been. It was either them or it was the week after North Carolina. I can't remember because they were hyping them up. I think it was early in the season. But they didn't really they weren't a super explosive team. I mean, they did put up points against lower competition, but I mean, other than that, I mean, App State is just another one of those teams like JMU. They have a history of winning. They have upset teams in the past, but right now they're just kind of middle of the pack.
So they did go to JMU, but I think JMU was the home team. It was JMU App State, but JMU was home.
And that was an overtime game too, right?
Triple OT. I think that's what you said, right?
Triple OT? I don't know. I know it went to overtime for sure.
Yeah, it was the JMU game. They went. So App State is correct. They were the opponent, but it was at JMU.
Okay.
The last time they went to App State was, I'm saying, 2022.
Yeah, so that was later in the season. But yeah, I mean, App State definitely lost to some teams that, you thought they would win. Like Old Dominion, you kind of thought they would pull that out. Coastal Carolina, I mean, without McCall, you would think that they would pull that out. But Wyoming, that's a wobbler. But everything else, it kind of lines, it kind of tracks just for what who we know them to be. They're not world beaters, but they can get the job done and they can have a good season.
Hey, they beat Michigan. That's all that matters to me.
In 2007.
I don't care. Still happen. That's all you got for App State before we move to the last one?
Yeah, we can go and move on.
I'm going to run through this real quick because San Diego State was my last team to look out for, and they disappointed me. San Diego State, terrible year offensively. Jalen made it, and I don't know what was going on. I think I even came into the year saying that, like, bruh, not really that good. He's okay. And 10 touchdowns, 9 picks, not really good. Even the running back, I'm blanking on his name. I think it's Terry Armstrong. No, some Armstrong or Armstead. He's explosive. He's showing flashes. Nobody in San Diego State's offense had a really good year, in my opinion. I mean, when your tight end is leading the team with 3 touchdowns receiving, it's not really a great offensive year. Defensively, I wouldn't even say that's great either, but I would also say that the offense did not help the defense out at all. Even that game against Ohio, defense played their hearts out. The offense just couldn't put up no points. I had San Diego State going 8-4, 6-2 in conference play. They actually finished 4-8, 2-6. So literally the opposite of what I thought. Had them beating Ohio, which they won. I had them beating Idaho State, which they won. I had them losing to UCLA, which they lost. I had them losing to Oregon State, which they lost. I had them losing to Boise State, which they lost. I had them beating Air Force, they lost. I had them beating Hawaii, they won. I had them beating Nevada, they lost. I had them beating Utah State, they lost. I had them beating Colorado State, they lost. I had them beating San Jose State, they lost. I had them losing to Fresno State, which surprisingly, they actually beat Fresno State, which Fresno State actually ended up being a good team last year, or a decent team last year. Disappointing year. I expected them to be a team to look out for. Expected 8 wins. They didn't even get a bowl game. So failure of a season for San Diego State. And those are our teams that we had. Those are our group of 5 schools that we had y'all look out for this last season. Ace, anything you want to say? Any last words before we end the show?
I feel like we were right for the most part. I mean, a lot of those teams ended up being conference champions. A lot of them had, like program history, like season, So, I mean, I think we did good. We got good.
I agree. Hey, look, man, you can't. Like I said earlier, man, we ain't perfect. We ain't gonna shoot. Hey, nobody batting 100.
Yeah, nobody's 100%, but we like 80. Like you can't take that from us.
Shoot, I think we did a real good job. Our same picks. What? Tulane.
Oh yeah, our same pick.
Runner up. Western Kentucky, decent year, maybe a disappointment. JMU, damn near undefeated. Memphis, 1 game away from playing for the conference championship. Troy actually won the conference championship. And then UTSA, with 8 wins, won a bowl game.
Like you said, everybody came in. Exactly.
And then Boise State, that was a pretty cool pick. Toledo lost in the conference championship. SMU. Great pick by you with SMU. Won the conference championship for the first time in like 40 years.
You feel me? We know what we're doing. End of the day, y'all just keep coming back and get this knowledge. That's all it is.
Man, hey, look, my final words. Appreciate you for coming on. I'm excited for the season. Absolutely. 2 months and some change, man. We almost there for 2024 started college football season. Absolutely excited. I know you are with all the changes and everything going on with Miami. Anything you want to shout out?
Shout out CTC, man. Shout out R2L. Like and subscribe, man. Share the videos.
Appreciate it, man. I ain't really got nothing else to shout out. Just shout out the network, everybody working hard and everything with these shows, man. CTC will be back. I know it's a short turnaround. I will be back Tuesday to discuss the Power 5 coaching trees, just head coaches, the movements, everything like that. Just wanted to touch on it a little bit. If I find like I can maybe squeeze the group of 5 in there and it'd be a cool little episode, might end up doing both. But just for right now, look for just Power 5 coaching tree. Also, another note, when I do my previews, I'm thinking about doing my previews on Sunday because nothing really going on Sunday. It's not NFL season yet. Weekday might be a little crazy, so I might just do a Sunday. And Ace knows he's more than welcome to be on any preview. Just let me know. You're in there.
Gonna be on a few of those for sure.
Yes, sir. Y'all already know he's gonna be on the ACC, so representing the Hurricanes. We're gonna see how that goes for me. But hey, man, I appreciate everybody that tuned in. I appreciate y'all for watching. That is it. That's all I have for y'all today. And until next time, peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all at the next episode.